Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry I'm a little bit late here, but we just got some interesting retail sales numbers. Morning, Octavius. Good morning, Namrus. So the U.S. retail sales month over month came in at spot 4% versus an expected reading of spot 3. But U.S. core retail sales month over month came in at spot 1 versus an expected spot 3. So the headline number was higher than expected and the core number was lower than expected. And I would say that the lower by spot 2 is relatively significant. So that means what? Like cars are selling better. That's, I guess that's good for my former employer. But the overall retail market is not doing as well. That's kind of what I take from that. But then the other big one is New York Fed manufacturing, 31 spot 2 versus an expected 0. Wowzer. And U.S. export prices month over month, spot 8 versus negative spot 1 expected. Import prices spot 3 versus negative spot 1 expected. Okay, so we got some mixed numbers in here, but we are getting some numbers that are possibly, so we're seeing some weakness in retail sales, but we're also seeing some of these, more import numbers suggesting inflation, and we're seeing a huge change in manufacturing. So it seems that the market is reading that manufacturing number and so forth to be more significant, and we are down a little bit. So let's see where we are compared to yesterday. Well, we're not quite to yesterday's lows, but yesterday in the end they did push up pretty decently and then sold off at the very end. So what happened was we were kind of expecting Powell, maybe Powell will be dovish, but he was not, and that really crushed the market. So then you get over here the S&P 500 taking it on the nose off of that. Oil is just kind of where it was, but then interestingly enough, it didn't hurt gold and silver as much. Kappa? Okay, well, copper's getting a little bit of a bounce this morning. A Japanese yen, it got ahead of a little bit of a bounce there. And the Bitcoin's still up there in the 90Ks area, so I think we got an interesting setup. I'm going to be a little bit more hands-off today because I am babysitting at the moment. The kids probably should sleep through the whole thing, but I just got to be a little bit ready to get up if I have to. I don't know if I really want to take a position and nurse it and be all keyed in and nervous the whole time, I'm curious to see though how this pans out, if they retrace it, if they just kind of decide, okay, that's it, and we'll end here on Friday. You never know. Part of me wants to think, oh, well, it's a Friday. They're just going to trade the news and then head home. But I'm not so sure that today is one of those days. So let's I have a little bit of food. Let's give it a little bit of time to see where they go. I'm just kind of coming in here, checking. Headlines. Support for Germany's AfD continues to soar amid calls for election ban by political opponents. I can't believe that that's like a thing in other countries that would just outright ban a political party that's like super popular. That's crazy to me. Like, I would think that if you banned a party that popular, that it would just make things that much worse for you. But what do I know? Yeah, that's dude, I don't understand German politics. I don't understand European politics at all. I just don't get enough information from there or have enough context about existing political lines and culture and people and everything to understand what's going on over there, like I do in the United States, you know? So it seems like that is a factor and has perhaps been affecting our markets, though. Man, I don't know what it was that I looked up or whatever. I guess it was just because I wanted to see if there was anything new in the UAP hearing that they had on Thursday? Wednesday? Thursday? I don't know. There was another hearing in Congress about, does the government know about aliens, sort of a thing. And nothing new was released in there, so it's kind of not really anything to talk about other than them reconfirming that these whistleblowers think, not that they have firsthand knowledge, but these whistleblowers think that the government has recovered alien craft and biologics and the whole 9 yards. Anyways, now I'm like on Alien Conspiracy Net. Like, Reddit is giving it to me, TikTok is giving it to me, and at first it was kind of interesting. Like, I saw some interesting theories. One of the theories that people were saying is that the sun is actually a binary star, that there's like a brown dwarf, like a dim object that kind of rotates around and will like come back along. I thought that was kind of interesting. But now I'm kind of bored of it. I don't want to be on Alien Talk anymore. Please take me off. Monica asks, are you using Jigsaw? If so, what is your monthly cost for using that software? And have you ever used CQG? Okay, so that's a good question. So first of all, it's $50 a month for the live trading license. So if you are coming in, you're just practicing and you're trading sim, then you don't have to pay for the license. But if you want to submit live trades, you have to pay $50 a month license. So that's pretty comparable to most other platforms, but the difference with Jigsaw is that Jigsaw also has an upfront cost, right? Like Sierra Charts, it's $50, something like that, except for that it all gets packaged in with their data costs and everything else. But they don't have an initial platform cost like Jigsaw does, so that's why a lot of people kind of trend towards Sierra Charts. But I really think that Jigsaw has the best DOMs, so that's why I use Jigsaw. And have you ever used CQG? So I have used CQG. I would say that the majority of retail traders are either using, or in futures trading, are using Rhythmic or CQG data. And I would bet that of those, probably the majority are using CQG. So I have used CQG in the past. I've used both CQG and CQG Continuum. CQG continuum that you get with NinjaTrader seems to be of slightly lesser quality. I can't put a finger on quite what it is about it, but it seems like continuum is not as good. I prefer Rhythmic for two reasons. One, Rhythmic allows me to see more price levels. And I wouldn't say that those extra price levels really do a whole lot for you, but I do like to see them. There are some like ticks and changes that you can see like really, really far out that give you a little bit of an idea about what the algorithms thought of that most recent change. And also because you can use the plugin mode for Rhythmic Trader Pro. So Rhythmic Trader Pro is written in C#, and that means that any other C# application can potentially share memory addresses with it. So you get the data in through Rhythmic Trader Pro, and then it basically gets forwarded to Jigsaw in NinjaTrader. This is the way that I do it. And, it's in memory. So all it takes is the amount of time for the next, lookup, essentially. So it's lightning fast. And that allows me more flexibility in my platform. So that's kind of why I am partial to Rhythmic. The best data that I've ever seen is Trading Technologies, but that's too expensive for me. DTN IQ. I'm not sure I know what that one is. There's IQ feed. Is that the same thing? Is that the same thing? IQ feed is really good, by the way. Yeah, I think it is the same thing as IQ feed. So DTN IQ is quite a bit more expensive, is my recollection. And you run a separate program. There's a separate program that kind of runs in the system tray that gets the information. And it was really good data. So like there's this weird thing that's like, okay, when the level 2 is changing around and everything over here, you can kind of see it change in chunks. But the reality is that most of those changes are not as chunky. Most of those are like small orders and it changes much more granularly. But your data provider is actually kind of filtering it for you. They're kind of looking at the amount of activity that's happening and the number of people that it has to send data to, and kind of does an optimization problem to say, okay, how many individual changes can I actually push out to them right now? So these other feeds like IQ feed and Trading Technologies are, you see more level 2 changes overall. And I actually find that it kind of helps you. It seems things seem smoother large individual changes stick out to you more. Like, I think that there is kind of an advantage to that higher quality data, but you really pay for it. Now, we had a problem with the TTN IQ because one of the things that it does is it runs in high priority mode with the CPU. So it will ensure that it gets the processing power to do its thing. And that was like causing the live stream to get choppy. I think with my new setup and everything, I've gotten, you know, I think back then I don't think that I had encoding on the GPU, and we have a much nicer processor and everything. Maybe it wouldn't do that anymore, but it was a problem. So that was kind of like, because you can get a demo for IQ. They have a demo we tried before, so it's nice data. There's one of those coy things that Jigsaw kind of talks about, is like there is a difference between the different data providers, and the ones that you pay through the nose for are better. Oh, that's funny. It's funny that you ask me how much you pay for Jigsaw, because I got charged today. So that's probably, was that what happened? Was you got charged and it wasn't what you expected or something? I don't know, that's weird. Also, the live monthly trading subscription includes Journalytics, so that's a plus too. Does look like they're recovering a little bit, but I'm not going to call it a reversal yet. It looks like you're getting, well, I don't know, off of this release it was flattening, but it looks like off now. That's actually a little weird. How is that? So we flattened, but how did we flatten and ZB is up more? So I guess ZB did not decline as much and then has recovered all of the way, whereas the 10-year is still down considerably, and the 5-year has not recovered a whole lot at all. That's a little different. That is not the way that usually goes. I'm with CQGIC. I don't know what that's about, but it's about 900 per month. That's super expensive, and I saw your DOM setup and wondered how you like it and how expensive it is. Yeah. Well, because, yeah, $50 a month for the trading software, but then it's like $40 a month or something along those lines for the data itself. Integrated client. Huh. I don't know anything about that. But how can you be like, if you're spending what are you getting for $900 a month? Like that's like you should be doing trading technologies at that point. There's a version of CQG that's the same. That's $40 a month. That's what the majority of retail traders are using. Automated system stuff, however, after years of going down the algo rabbit hole, I found that none of them were profitable long-term for my style of trading. Oh, that's interesting. You know, once in a while, I'm kind of like, you know, am I really trying my hardest at the algorithmic trading thing? If I had like really just, you know, no live stream, no anything else, just programming algorithms, would I have found something? But then I'm kind of like, probably not, because I kind of feel like the things that really work for algos, you got to have the speed. So with Rhythmic, there is a version of Rhythmic that includes the API, and it also includes market by order data, and that's like $100 a month. So I'm still not sure where you're getting where you get to 900. Like I'm really convinced that unless you're like a hedge fund or a commodities trading pool, that $900 a month is too much. Nothing beats the human. Well, there's advantages to discretion. There really is. Let's say it's easier. I think that it is easier to find an edge through discretion than it is through algorithmic trading, but that edge is not going to be a very consistent one, right? They charge $588 for the platform, and then $250 for quote CQG trading, whatever that means. But you need it if you want to trade with. Well, so what? Yeah. So you know what though, the way that I would approach this, if you're gonna be going for Jigsaw, is pick your broker. Pick your broker first. I'm using EdgeClear. I've used AMP in the past. I've used NinjaTrader brokerage in the past, but I prefer the support that I get with EdgeClear. you know, especially when I was with NinjaTrader, I felt like I had constant problems. And then when I had to deal with those problems, I'd get somebody that didn't know what was going on. Whereas with EdgeClear, I think I've only had a problem like once in the 5 years that I've been with them. And it was just because like the instrument wasn't available for trading yet, and they immediately knew what was going on and freed it up for us. So like that's kind of why I go with them. I really like them. We have a good relationship. Once you've picked a broker, an introducing broker, then they'll kind of tell you what their options are. You know, because for instance, if you decide to go the NinjaTrader route because you want to do automated trading through NinjaTrader, because that's where I do most of my programming and algorithmic stuff, then you're going to have to go for NinjaTrader brokerage, and then you will be on CQG Continuum. So that's why I think it's better to pick your introducing broker first. Because like either pick your platform and then pick your introducing broker is the way that I would do it. Because if you go the other way around, you pick your data first. Like the differences between the different data providers, the base level data providers at least, is pretty negligible. No, we should have a poll. I only get 4 options on a poll, but I think almost all of you fit under NinjaTrader, Sierra Charts, AMP, or EdgeClear. The ones that don't, I wish I could put another. The ones that don't, they're probably going to be like interactive brokers. There's maybe we have one person with trading technologies. But I'm going to bet that that's like the vast majority of you. And I'm going to bet also, just a guess, but my guess is that AMP is going to be the most popular. But let's see. Maybe Sierra Charts wins. Maybe I have more Sierra Charts viewers than I think. We'll see. CoffeeZilla has a video out about Mr. Beast. Oh, I have to watch that one. You know what? I don't have any knowledge of anything bad that Mr. Beast has done. And I have no reason to think that he's done anything improper. But I suspect that he is slimy AF. Simply because he's done so well on YouTube. And he is like almost transformed the algorithm. And that alone I feel like that to do that well on YouTube and get that far in the algorithm in the modern age, that you had to have been doing something slimy. Like even if it was just, you know, using production and all of these things to kind of exaggerate, you know, like you have a video and it seems like they're doing this, but the reality was actually something different that's not nearly as, you know, crazy seeming, you know? It's theater, even if it was just on that level. Okay, let's see here. The videos, I watched that yesterday, says Uzi. Its conclusion is basically debatable as it pertains to shitcoin scamming. Oh, really? Oh, right, because there was this whole thing about the shitcoin. But you know what? That is something that did happen, though. That, like, I'm totally... that he admitted to. And it was like he bragged about it, and, you know... It was basically like Gary Vee brought all of these influencers together in a call and was like, I think that we should all buy CryptoPunks. And it wasn't like a pump and dump. Like, because I don't think that these people understood necessarily the consequences of what they were doing and everything. But it was basically a pump and dump. It was basically CryptoPunks became famous because of them, because of their impact, and then all of these people bought into it, and some of them were smart enough to sell out. Some of them. Well, that's exactly it that they're talking about in the video. I guess I'm gonna have to watch it now. Sure. He claims did he sell out? He claims transactions were done by people managing his investments rather than him. Well, that would make sense to me, though. Like, that with the amount of money that he has, you basically have to have an asset manager involved to some degree. Okay, like if I was as rich and successful on YouTube as Mr. Beast is, you know, I would still want to be hands-on with my portfolio and everything, but I wouldn't be able to execute it myself, for instance. I would probably have to send it to, you know, I would probably have to have a personal, what do we call it, private wealth management account with Goldman is probably what I would do. And then they would move the transactions for me. Is what I think would do. You know what? So this is something I was thinking about yesterday. Well, hold on. I don't want to get into a rant like this. I still got a little bit of food here. Hold on. Keep telling me about this Mr. Beast video. Wow, what is this? I hadn't heard about this. Over 800 Utah homes lost power after a woman climbed the transformer? What? Who would be crazy enough to climb up onto one of those things? Do you have a death wish? Wait, you can actually climb up there and not die? But they must have like turned it all off just to be sure. Dude, that's great. And that happened here in Utah. I didn't hear about that. That's nuts, oh man. That is nuts. He shut the power. She survived. What the heck? That is crazy. Well, but she must have like climbed up it to some extent. Like, what? There must be some part. It must be like some part of it that she could climb up, and then they're like, well, we want to make sure that she doesn't touch anything that will kill her, and so then they turned it off. Like, how does that work? Oh, we gotta click the link here and read the comments now. How did she not die? The substation operators were able to turn off the power before she started climbing on the transformer. I believe she broke into one of the control rooms and started banging on some enclosures before making her way to the transformer outside. So they were able to de-energize everything. Oh, wow. So did she maybe climb up there to like get away from them? That's crazy. Shut down my job for about 4 hours, so it was a good day for me. I wonder what day was this. Was this perhaps the day where I had my power out, dude? The day that I got terminated from my job, there was like we didn't really run the stream, right? Like the power died, and then it was like, oh no power. I don't know if I'll be here, and then the power comes back on. I get everything running. So, I start the computer and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go check around the house and everything, reset the clocks and everything. And then I come back and like, the boss is like, messaging me super aggressively and everything. What the heck? They like terminated me. It was like big surprise. I wonder if it was that day. What day was this? Was she charged? My gosh. We gotta give that one an upvote. Next comment, I can fix her. Okay. Oh, no, this was not. This was just recently. Why was Jim Simmons so wildly successful with his medallion fund and their algorithmic trading? Honestly, I believe that it was because they were first. So, like, here's what I think happened. First, there was the prediction company. Like, there was people making money doing, I guess you could say, momentum as hedge funds. And then these guys that were basically in the field of chaos theory. So, for instance, one of the things that they did was they built a computer that fits in your shoe that in certain instances could predict what number the roulette wheel was going to land on. Chaos theory guys. And so these chaos theory guys decided, oh, let's get into the market. So they went in and they created the prediction company. And the prediction company did their data analysis and they said, well, there are signals. The noise is larger than the signals. So you have to have a ton of data to be able to see it, but there are signals in there. And so and I think that these were kind of more like day trading timeframes, not day trading, but like daily timeframes, longer timeframes, not day trading, right? And they were very successful with it. In eventually, those guys, they weren't really there for the markets. There was just kind of a thing. It's kind of weird to me. If you go to like these firms and stuff, a lot of these people aren't like obsessed with the markets. It's to them, it was just like, oh, I went into math and then this ended up being a thing, and so that's how I worked for a lot of them. Anyways, so that company, they stuck around, but like they got bought out and all of these sorts of things. So then Simmons came along, and I think that they started out doing the same thing. And I think that what Simmons was able to do was they were able to build a real data pipeline. From everything that I've kind of seen in the stories about this and what they say, it seems to me that the biggest thing that kind of holds you back is your data pipeline. Like, you have to be able to save all of the data that you're getting, put it in a big data lake, and then, do all of these transformations on it and everything in a way so that you can run machine learning applications on it. And then, you need to be able to save the results of that and then go back and change it and save the results of that and change it again and know what you were changing and all of these sorts of things. Once you have that sort of a thing in there and you're doing that kind of analysis on order flow, it seems to me, and this is just now I'm like wildly speculating, but it seems to me that Medallion kind of started with momentum, and they kind of started to turn into, okay, but can I actually predict the momentum before it happens? So if you think about it like momentum, it's kind of like, okay, if we have a new 50-day high and this moving average is above this moving average, then I get in. And the reason that tends to work is because it gets you in at the beginning of any trend. So overall, you're going to lose a lot. But if you get in on a trend and you're able to really stick with it and really hold on to the trend, and you're holding it for months and years, then you can really, really catch insane winners. Okay, cool. But then once you're doing that, how do you improve your profits? Well, you would want to get in earlier, get out more accurately, and improve your win rate. Make it so that, there are some signals that you ignore because you know that they're not very good, right? So how would you do that? Well, I think that it would be that you would have to be getting a signal before everybody else. You would have to be seeing something that there is actual movement and buying in a market before it shows up in the straight kind of momentum sense. So I think that what happened was that Medallion started searching for those things and found them, and that they've kind of been able to work out that, okay, there was an event here that happened that was economically significant, and it started or triggered buying in this one particular market. And then they've done their analysis of the flows, and they're able to look at how that event will impact all other assets. And so there might be situations where there's going to kind of be like like domino effects. This asset moves, and then that affects this asset, and then the next day that affects this asset. And you can predict certain flows that are going to happen like way ahead of time. And that's my theory as to what they were doing. But that's just my theory. And there's like a ton of speculation involved in that. I'm basing it off of like the research that's out there and what we know and things that they've said and things that we know about kind of how they start. Because we know that that Jim Simmons just kind of started out like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And all of the edge that really made them money was discovered later. By the way, the treasuries are pushing lower here. So, you know, earlier I was a little bit confused by what was going on with the spread and everything, because it was like the ZB had completely recovered and the other ones didn't, and it was spit flattening. So I didn't think that maybe that meant that we were likely to go lower. But now in retrospect, it should have been a warning sign to us, huh? That there was flattening and that the pullback wasn't really a reversal or anything. And let's see here. The previous low was 07, so that was a pretty decent excursion, and it moved. That last move was about 10,000 contracts. So I don't think it makes much sense for me to try and take a trade in here in this area because it already moved, and 10,000 is already enough for a leg that I'm a little bit. Now, I think that I have been hearing a little bit of stuff from my news squawk. I haven't said anything because I didn't think that there was anything all that significant, but we got stuff from Collins. We got stuff. Oh, okay, but Collins made no comment on monetary policy. And Goolsby said stuff, but I don't, he's just dovish as ever. It didn't really seem to affect anything. Does that take, by the way, let me come back over here. Oh, I need to roll over my oil. Okay. That didn't change anything though. If I come back over to my volume profile chart, does that take us to new lows? It does for the week. But yesterday's low was 04. And Goolsby fired? I don't think. That was a good pun. I'm. You know what? I like the puns. I really do. And the older I get, the more I like them. Bravo, Octavius. But so within this context, we need to realize that this is kind of like a breaking point. There's a really good chance, I think, in this situation. I really don't feel like that all of the things that have happened this week really justify like, oh yeah, treasuries need to be much lower. So I would be looking out for if they break 04, and you might see a lot of volume on it too. Like it might be a really convincing strong break that you might see it reverse soon after. I would be careful about that scenario. Because if it doesn't, then it's momentum. Then it's just going to keep going, and at the moment, I just don't see that one playing out. But let's see how it goes. Okay, so yesterday I had time to put out my resumes for the week. I haven't been putting out nearly as many resumes because there's just not nearly as many job openings, man. It's rough out there. And it's, there people do hire during the holidays, but not nearly as much. But then after that, I was pretty much like on baby duty the whole day and didn't really browse the internet as much as I normally would. In fact, I gave Asher my phone for a good portion of the day. Oh my gosh. Because he wants to play Minecraft. And normally he plays it on my wife's laptop, but she took it with her on her trip, and she was gone overnight. So I gave him my phone, and man, he can play Minecraft. He's 4 years old, but he can play Minecraft, and he's learning little things every day, and he's watching other people in videos, and so like he's figuring out how the game plays. Yesterday, he made a super crazy railroad setup. He didn't know to put the redstone torches next to the power rails, but he had a railway system put up that went all over the place and was super crazy. So I didn't really browse around the internet. So now I'm browsing today. Holy crap, the left is pissed off that RFK Jr. is going to be in charge of the FDA. They are super unhappy about this. What's this one? Okay, in r/law, it's just titled Trump expected to select Robert F. Kennedy to lead it's HHS, not FDA. Okay. HHS. The brain worm in charge of HHS. I do kind of question this guy's ability to be an effective executive, but whatever. But here on this one, Trump officially gives RFK Jr. chance to destroy country's health is the title in r/politics. 1.8 thousand comments. They are unhappy. What is it that so here's the question though, is what is it that they think that RFK Jr. is going to do away with that they care about so much? It's kind of funny because it emphasizes the fact that the left doesn't actually believe in autonomy. When maybe you're right. Like, it does kind of seem like that to me. Like it's not that oh, I really want to have those food dyes in my food. That's really important, guys. That's gonna, if they get rid of that, the food's not gonna be as good, or something like that. I don't think that he's proposing anything that they actually care about. What they care about is that he's coming in and he's going to do something contrary to what the past established experts have said. Because they think that everybody should be forced to listen. Like what it really comes down to, man. I've said this before, but like this comes back to this thing with like when we were kids. Especially for the millennial, like the tail end of Gen X / millennials, okay? When we were kids, there's this whole thing that like a sexual revolution happened, but when we were kids, everybody was still saying, well, most Americans were religious, and your religious parents were saying, don't have sex before marriage. And most of this stuff really does come down to the kids wanted to have sex before marriage, and the parents didn't approve of it. And this has kind of led to this persistent trauma that the left is acting out on. That is basically they hate things because they hated their religious parents that wouldn't let them have premarital sex. Okay? And they felt, oh, if only I had been born in a household that wasn't religious. And so they have this idea. They want everybody to be they want everybody to be to do so then they come to this thing like school was kind of the escape for them. Let me back up a little bit. School kind of ended up being the escape for a lot of these people. You know, like that's where they found other people and you know, they learned in evolution and all of these other things that contradicted what their parents said. And so they have this idea that like, oh, if I had been raised with science instead of religion, then I wouldn't have this trauma. And everybody would be doing better because they would be doing the scientific thing instead of the religious thing, right? And so the left kind of, because of this trauma, let's call it, they get driven towards these policies that basically end up being, let's force people to do things. And it really does come down to that. Like when it's in school, how is it you have all of these teachers that are like just straight up being political and they're posting political stuff online and everything? So isn't it like totally inappropriate for teachers to be political? Well, when I was in school, it was. I mean, it was kind of like the teachers can toe the line, but overall, the teachers knew that you kind of needed to be neutral. Like, that's a really important thing, because if there's a political disagreement or a philosophical disagreement in the country, and you as teachers come down hard on one side of that in favor of one side or the other, then the other side will completely lose trust in the education system, and that's how you get to where we are today. Like, there's a real negative cost to doing that, okay? But this is why the left are all in on that, is because they think that the source of all of their problems was people being taught religion as kids, essentially, right? And so that's why they come down on this side of, okay, there's an expert that says something, we should all be doing that thing. And they'll do the most ridiculous, stupid things if the right expert says something. Even when the expert isn't really very expertly. Like, my new favorite catchphrase is, the only expert is reality. That's my new phrase. So what do I mean by that? Don't do something because somebody made an appeal to authority argument and you need to do what those authorities do. Do something because you have empirical evidence from reality that tells you what the truth is. Okay? During COVID, there was a lot of decisions that were made and things that experts wanted the public to do that were not backed by empirical science. And they just kind of like doubled down on the things because to them it was more important that the people trusted the authorities and did what the authorities said than to actually be correct about things. That did happen. That just unquestionably did happen. And I know that there's people on the left that will hate hearing me say that, but it straight up happened. And you're going to see it play out in the politics, and you're going to see it play out in the politics in a really strong way in Donald Trump's administration. And RFK Jr. is going to be like the focal point of that. Right? Leftists are extraordinarily sexually and religiously frustrated. I can't tell you how many 40-year-old guys I know who still resent their parents for taking them to church as children, and how every opinion they have is tied to that. It is. It's just like, well, because you know what it is, Uzi, is they're developing all of that happens in the time when people develop the strongest parts of themselves, right? The parts of your identity that you develop between the ages of 14 and then especially 17 to 26 or so, but after that point it's like really hard to change them, because the brain has developed so many neurons and ways of thinking and everything that it really takes serious intentional effort by an individual to change their line of thinking. It can happen. There are people that they're like, oh, you know what? Like, I developed an identity that was really negative for me and prevents me from having success. And then you have to kind of change those modes of thinking. And it's hard because you have to be so intentional about it. And that's when you kind of realize that, because everybody seems to think that like we have complete control over our thoughts and things like that. But that's not actually the case. You know, just like, could I say something else controversial since we're kind of on a controversial subject? You know, people will say, well, you didn't choose to be gay. Well, we don't really know how that happens, but I would say that it doesn't necessarily have to be a conscious choice to be a choice. You come in and you decide something in your teenage years, and then you wire your brain up like that, and then it's really hard for you to change it ever after that. This is important to note for us traders, because if you develop a mode of trading that's incorrect, you're going to have a really hard time dealing with it and moving over to a mode that is better and more effective. So, and it's important to understand because it helps us understand why some people make the political decisions that they do. Hey, Paul, woke up late. Yeah, I don't know if you missed it. I mean, we're down. We're down pretty big from all of the economic numbers that we had, but it's okay. Let's see here. While EdgeClear isn't my broker, I clicked it in the poll because I like them and may try it. Okay. I really like them too. I really do. Oh, okay. So I hadn't even looked at the results of the poll. Most of you are NinjaTrader, followed by AMP. Okay. I really wish that NinjaTrader had rhythmic data, though. Oh well. Namrus, I'm keen to see the fluoride in water thing get analyzed. Surely it's done for. I agree. The science that I have seen is abundantly clear that fluoride is bad for people to ingest, and that the health benefit of putting it in our water is extremely minimal, and that there's really no justification to be putting fluoride in the water. And I'm not going to say that it's like the hugest deal in the world. Like, some people like really get uppity about it, but it does seem, but I do think that there would be some better, you know, it's going to be in the margins, but there are some people that are being negatively affected by fluoride in the water. And there was a court case about it, where the court case pretty much came down on the side that, yeah, actually fluoride is harmful. And I hope that they put regulations in place that basically says that you can't add it into the water, or reduces the amount of fluoride that can be allowed. That's one that I'm totally in favor of. You got to feel for all the traders that tried to fade the Trump trade this week. Oh yeah. Well, like me and the TLT that I bought. Well, I'm still basically at break even on the trade, but we're at 109 even now, finally. Remember I said 04 and there might be a breakthrough here, then I'd be concerned about it kind of tricking us and flipping back into it, or momentum. And at the moment, it looks like momentum, like the volume is really coming through there now. How much did this go? Oh, wow. That was another 20,000 contracts. Oh, I don't know if this particular place is necessarily a good place to get in at, but 1, 2, 3. I'm kind of starting to come down on the side that
Block
this
sell.
might. Okay, wow. Okay, so there's a huge iceberg at 109 even, and they were willing to sell 15,000 into it. That's a massive iceberg. But you know what? It's like at an even number, so. That the iceberg does make me think twice about wanting to get into a position, because I'm now very concerned that we start rotating around this price for again. Anyways, I'm totally in on the we should get rid of fluoride, but there's a lot of other things that I see people talk about that I'm kind of like, I don't know. Like the food dyes thing. A lot of people think that the food dyes are causing us health problems because like they're banned in Europe, but in most of these cases they're like not actually banned. They just have to go under a different name and all of these sorts of things. It's like I'm not convinced that that one's a problem. I am concerned about
Block sell.
Ooh, wow. What? That surprised me. That really surprised me. I have never seen anything like that. 15K iceberg, and then they are able to push through it, and another 15,000 trades all at once, stopping out through below that. Somebody must be stopping out of a position. That has to be somebody stopping out of a long position in treasuries. Like the way that that's coming out. Do you have a cooldown timer for? No, I don't. So if you saw like a bunch of them, you would hear it multiple times, I think. Okay, so Mr. Legit, the problem with a CFD is that you are basically taking a position against that broker. So, it's a conflict of interest. They have a vested interest in you failing. And so that's why CFDs are banned in the United States. And like more generally, it's kind of like, why? Why would you need to use the CFDs? You know, there was a time when maybe they made sense because like the futures required too much margin from you and things like that. But that's like really not the case anymore. So I really don't understand why anybody would want to use CFDs. Ooh, you know, that kind of gets me thinking, by the way. CFD laws in US. What is the law that actually bans it? This is because they are an over-the-counter investment product that can't be regulated by traditional financial institutions. What law bans CFDs in US? The Security and Exchange Commission has restricted the trading of contracts for difference in the United States. I don't know, there's stories like, why is CFD trading banned in the US? It sounds to me like there's not like a law that specifically prohibits it so much as it is that the regulator doesn't allow it. Verax best loser wins author trades CFDs because of no tax on them in the UK or something like that. Also, for example, Interactive Broker in EU only gives the option of trading the CFDs on FX. Did you hear about the Poly Market FBI? I did. I don't know anything about it, but I'm not surprised. Like, everybody on the internet is being like, oh, the government is coming after him because they correctly predicted the election. No, the FBI came after him because they were running an unregulated prediction market in a time when prediction markets were explicitly being disallowed by the SEC. And who knows what other kind of shady things they were up to involved with that as well. But now they are allowed, and there are legitimate exchanges that are coming out. And I doubt that you ever hear about Poly Market again, because there can be legal venues. And I kind of wonder, by the way, how long so what do you think the over-under odds are on when the CME introduces prediction contracts like this? I bet you that someday it happens. They already have like these binary option contracts, right? So like binary option contracts is kind of like the let's build the infrastructure for it, right? That's what that is. So the reason why I was kind of interested in the CFD thing all of a sudden was I was thinking, well, you know, like if the reason that there's a big problem with them is because you're trading against the broker essentially, and that's a conflict of interest, then why are prop firms not considered CFDs? Isn't a sim live basically a CFD? I mean, you're not trading a contract for difference. You're trading an actual security, but you're not trading the actual security. You're trading, well, it's not a contract, but probably in the legal sense, it probably should be a contract for difference. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of like wording in perspective. What's the difference between them? I don't, you know, this whole video is just kind of like reignited my hatred for prop firms, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, are there legal avenues that maybe we could get rid of them through anything like that? But you know what, man? This is the thing that kind of gets me, okay? Is that with the Trump administration, okay? Donald Trump has run on reducing or addressing government corruption. And it seems to me that that is coming out in two places. One is in the health with RFK Jr., right? Let's say three places. One is in corruption in Congress, and one is in excessive government spending, in government waste, let's call it. But the thing that bothers me, that I see every day, is fraud in the financial sector. And I never seen Donald Trump say anything about it. They haven't said anything about who are they going to put in the SEC, right? All we see is that the cryptocurrency markets did not like Gary Gensler because he was I wouldn't even say he was anti-Bitcoin, but he wasn't pro-Bitcoin, right? Donald Trump is going to straight up put people that are pro-Bitcoin in there. And I think it's pretty much inevitable with the way that things are going that it means that we get an SEC that is more permissible and allows fraud. Like straight up. Yeah, we went to negative 70K. That was like an insane amount of selling. Is Jay Clayton Trump's pick again for CFTC chairman or SEC chairman? Because Clayton was the CFTC chairman before, right? Oh, it's already out. Yeah. Trump picks Jay Clayton to serve as Manhattan's top federal prosecutor. So what about the CFTC? My lips are really dry this morning. Summer Mersinger, a Republican CFTC commissioner who has urged the regulator to take a more accommodating stance on crypto, is among those under consideration to the chair, the agency Reuters reported. I don't think that the new so like Tether, there's fraud going on in Tether. I highly doubt Trump administration is going to go after that. I kind of suspect that I think that there needs to be regulation of the funded trader industry, if not it being outright banned, to be honest with you, because it is kind of like CFDs. So if we ban CFDs, then why do we allow prop firms? But at the very least, there needs to be regulation around it, because otherwise, the prop firm goes under and all of these traders lose all of their profits that they're supposed to have. That's not going to happen during a Trump administration. Like there's going to be some places where, yeah, it seems to me like maybe there are some problems, and Donald Trump is definitely out to transform government. So I hope it works out. But there's other places where I'm looking at, and it seems to me that we're going to regress. And these are issues that like normal people don't really care about, but at some point it's going to become a problem, and then y'all can regret ignoring it. So just saying that so that like when excrement hits the rotating blades, that I can say I told you so. Okay, so by the way, I'm still on the I'm not so sure that I want to take a trade here on this. Actually, this kind of looks ripe for a hero trade, to be honest. I think it's maybe a little bit too late, but so I was gonna say something about this and then I got distracted for some reason. I don't know why. I kind of feel like discombobulated and my brain's all over the place all of a sudden. But there was so much volume coming out there that does not look, like if there's a large meta order, right, and they're going to execute it over the whole day, it's going to be carried out in a certain fashion. You might stop out of a trade. You might say, okay, you know what, we've taken more losses than we're willing to take on this trade, and you factor in the losses that you will take from executing the trade as well to determine where your breaking point is and where you're going to get out, right? So you're still going to execute the exit with a large meta order of some sort, right? But what we saw was the volume just coming out. And something that can happen is you're in a position, it's a losing position, and you're not really managing things the way that you should, and so the broker takes you out. So it's like a hedge fund is underwater, and the prime broker decides, okay, this can't last anymore, we have to take you out. And when they take you out like that, they don't go in and say, hey, okay, what do we need to do to execute this in the most efficient way possible and blah, 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 blah. No, they just dump it. They dump it in a way that often has an extreme impact to kind of punish you for not taking care of it, right? It's almost like a spiteful move. So I think that that's what happened. The amount of volume that came out there was like really wild. And it is like almost immediately reversing. So I do kind of think that it was like they breached the level, there was a stop out, and now all of those extra traders that went short off of that flow are now kind of getting unwound. Or to put it in more traditional retail day trader terms, there are trap traders from below 109 even. Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, I think that that's what happened, don't you? Because have you ever seen that much volume come out there like that? There was no news or anything on a Friday. It's wild. Not that I've been paying attention to the news super carefully, but it was about, what, 15 minutes ago? Gazprom are to suspend Austria gas deliveries on November 16th. It could be that.
Block by.
So before the kind of like the drop there, I was kind of looking at like 04, right? I was looking at 04, and then there was the big iceberg, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe not. They went lower, and now they're back to my price. That's the sort of trade that like. So what I'm thinking about is, okay, if I had taken that trade, I would have been like super excited. Oh, is this going to keep going? And then it's right back to my price that quickly, and I would be super frustrated by it, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, let's try and hold it. Maybe it will push down again, and then like it never ends up going anywhere. Happens 5 to 30 times a day with size 10,000 plus in my SPYD. What, you saying somebody getting stopped out or something? The S&P 500, by the way, is seeing some pretty strong selling in the futures as well. Wow, what's this live monitors talking about on Twitter? The Fed has in practice abandoned a 2% inflation target. So this is the most important thing you need to consider as an investor, is it will shape everything in the coming years. When this metric hit the levels seen in late 1984, the problem was resolved by the dollar falling 40 to 50% in under 2 years. Will it be different this time? USD falling by 50% would meet such inflationary issues that I can't fathom how the US political class would handle it. That sounds like a fantastical scenario that's unlikely, but maybe I can find more about that. They only show for a split second, and then they vanish on the level 2. Okay. Now, the issue with reading the level 2 over here is that, like, you want to see, okay, do I see like stacks and pulling and how much is trading each time? And over in ES, it happens so quickly that you can't really necessarily tell that stuff. So I don't know why, but there was another thought that I was going to share earlier, and we kind of got moved over to other things. But one of the things I was going to say is that, like, as time goes on, the more interesting the boring things become to me. Like, okay, like beating the S&P 500, that's cool. Trading futures, momentum strategies, that's cool. But what about strategies that are intended for pension funds or companies that just have a lot of cash on hand or things like that, right? They're not necessarily looking to build up a wad of cash to retire on or anything. They're just trying to protect their money from inflation, right? What's involved in doing that? Because it seems to me like when I look at the businesses out there and everything that are actually like doing, like I would say a small business that's in the financial sector, like small asset managers and stuff. Those are the sorts of things that they're doing, and now I want to know more about those. This is like, but as time goes on, those things that are maybe kind of boring become more and more interesting to me. I don't remember what it was that you guys said that made me think about that, but. And then I come back to okay, I hate prop firms, and let's develop a strategy that undermines the prop firms, that gets so many payouts but is not successful enough in the long term to for you to really want to run it against the market, but it creates enough payouts from the prop firms that it undermines their business model. Do you guys have any ideas? My thinking was, well, most of the strategies that people are doing in this vein are price action sort of things. So maybe this is the time for us to go and update the indicator for a swing so that we get a little bit better of a back test on the swing trades and do a little bit more deeper analysis over there. The for a second there, the S&P like kind of seemed like it was accelerating down, huh? Today is an options expiration, isn't it? When stuff like this starts happening on a Friday, it tends to be really bad, and I'm just now realizing it's an options expiration Friday. That probably makes it even worse. The treasuries might be done, but I'm concerned about equities here. I guess is this, should we I don't know if I actually want to take a trade there at 20 though. I don't know why, but for some reason I'm looking at ES and I'm like, let's take the hero trade on ES and go long. When I just said these can get so much worse. I don't know what's going on in my head, but I don't like that. It doesn't make sense. Maybe large market orders can help find swings. You know what? Do I have an indicator for that? I have an indicator for like large limit orders, but I don't think I have an indicator for like large. Well, I guess technically we do, because you can do like cumulative delta and like filter it. I don't know if I have a cumulative delta that filters like that, but I can put it into mine. I am going to, I have a list here. I think on Monday I will send out the email and, you know, post my stuff. Oh, there's a couple of things on here. Hold on. Where's my view? Yeah, I didn't get that, unfortunately. Oh, but you know what? I don't even want to have it in here. I will put, no, it's not in this folder. Okay. So I think I will, you know, that we're good, and we should be able to put out that version to everybody now, because none of you beta testers have said anything. And then the next kind of set of changes are just going to be adding caching to cumulative delta and inventory cost basis. And that will include having options to deal with tick replay. So like I want it to say if you weren't capturing data live and you don't have cached data for it, then use tick replay data to reconstruct it. And there will have to be options to say I want to do that, or I don't want to do that, or I want to do that on my chart, but I don't want you to save it into my data files, and vice versa. And then if I do save it into my data files, there needs to be metadata in there that says that this particular data point was constructed from tick replay, right? So we have those. And then I think those are like most of the things that we really have to think about on this end. I have the time oscillators and all of that sort of stuff, right? But I don't think that those are going to be useful to us for a couple of months until we have a couple of months of data. So I think in the meantime, it might make sense for us to make Zigzag Pro. So Zigzag Pro is intended to be a zigzag that is more explicit about when a pivot has been confirmed. Okay, so like when you're looking at a chart and you see it's going like this, right? And then you get the zigzag, and the zigzag is like right? So at what point does it draw this? Well, as soon as it moves up, it starts to draw this point. But if it goes up just a little bit, if it were to like go up a little bit and then back down, and that amount up is not enough, then it basically says, oh, actually, this point right here is wrong. It's down here, right? Don't waste your time. And so basically, the point at which a pivot for these zigzags is confirmed is actually like somewhere over here, where it's come back 4 points. So you put like a little marker there, okay? So you can see on the chart, and you know explicitly that your indicator is not reading the future when you're doing a backtest. Okay, like we have some things to deal with it in the strategy itself, but just doing this be a little bit more explicit and would be a little bit better for us to analyze. And then I could analyze some of these price action trading strategies, because what I have seen with some of these strategies is that like they don't work, but that there are statistical aberrations in them, that like it seems like you have to hold a really large stop in those spots for some reason, things like that. So I do kind of think that we might be able to find something that is a possible candidate for, we need to name this. What were you guys saying yesterday? So the strategy we want to come up with to ruin the prop firm industry. Basically an algorithm that's good enough to get payouts, but is not good enough to take it live. That's basically what we want to do. And you guys were saying that we should like name it after a porn star or something like that. Wait, what is the name of, there's like a male porn star that everybody says looks like me. You know who I'm talking about? Shalom and Stefan. Yes, good morning. I don't know what Mr. Legit is saying there with IA sins. Yes, that's it. No, you're right. It's Johnny Sins. So let's call it that. Let's call it Operation Johnny. Okay. I do kind of think that quote unquote price action might be an optimal candidate for Operation Johnny. And so for us to do the back testing on it, I think that we need to create advanced zigzag. And while we're at it, why not have cumulative delta in advanced zigzag while we're too? Yeah. Yes, Operation Johnny. Or you could call it Operation Synth. I think Operation Johnny is better because it seems innocuous. You know, nobody would know where it comes from, right? So they would just assume, okay, we need to pick a name for the robot. They just decided to call it Johnny. Seems like a typical American name. Nothing weird there. Somebody told me that they had a problem with the multi-period candles, but I just tried it and I didn't have any problems with it. So I don't know what that's all about. Oh, Ozzy, I'm so glad you brought that up. You know, I was so excited that he asked who wins, Jake Paul or Mike Tyson. And the first time around, I was so excited about it. And then they like pushed the fight back and I kind of forgot about it. And for some reason, the excitement died down for me. But like Netflix has been pushing it super hard. It's going to be live on Netflix, apparently, tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern time, right? And who wins, Jake Paul or Mike Tyson? And Uzi says Jake Paul wins. Okay, I trust you. Listen, I don't know enough about this stuff to really make a good prediction about who's going to win. I kind of feel that Mike Tyson is old and that age is going to be a huge factor, right? Like if Mike Tyson does not just like outright knock out Jake Paul, if he doesn't just like straight up TKO Jake Paul, then you know after a couple of rounds he's gonna get tired, right? I feel like it's all a big scam with Jake Paul. I kind of do too. He's just a self-promoter. I don't really like the guy. He's one of those guys that's running on those explicit things that's like, well, you know, like the way that you make money is you break the rules a little bit and yeah, you farm engagement from people and all this. And I just like, okay, you can make money, but it doesn't mean that I'll respect you. Right. But I am excited to watch it. So I don't think, but I guess what I'm really trying to say is I really hope that Mike Tyson knocks him out. I don't know what the probability of Tyson winning actually is, but I would really like to see Mike Tyson just absolutely knock him out of the ring, and you know. Should be entertaining. Ooh, what time is my hockey game at, by the way? You got a hockey... Dude. I don't think that you guys really care about hockey. Sometimes I'm like, let's go back and build a new audience for hockey, and but that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. So what I've got to do is I've just got to convince the amazing audience that I have that hockey is actually a really great sport. I really like hockey. I am enjoying watching hockey so much. As a kid, I always watched basketball. And I was so into the basketball. I think one of the things that I did as a kid was like, you sit there and you watch it, and you almost feel like you're trying to will them to win. You know what I mean? And I think that kind of creates an anxiety. So watching hockey have taken much more of a, you know what? My team is going to lose most of the time. They're not the greatest team, okay? They're going to lose most of the time. They lost the other day against really like one of the worst teams. They lost against one of the worst teams. Like they were up the whole time, and then all of the sudden at the end the other team made like 3 goals really quickly, and it was just a complete embarrassment. So, you know, I've kind of learned to be like to just watch it and enjoy it for what it is. And for what it is, there are some things about hockey that are just so entertaining. For starters, everything about the sport is just spectacular and amazing. You know, like in basketball, it was always cool to watch somebody pull some sort of a cool move to get by defenders, or when they do a spectacular dunk or a layup where they, you know, really come up on, you know, like Michael Jordan was really good at that sort of stuff, right? But in hockey, the things that they are doing are on that level like every second. Like just the bouncing the puck back and forth looks like super hard thing to do to me. So it's spectacular in that respect. It's fast. So there's lots going on. And then there's a lot of things about the way that it is structured to really like amp up and keep the game interesting. Because like there's penalties, and so there's these periods where you're like on defense the whole time, or you're on offense the whole time, and that gets exciting. And then like things can just happen in a hockey game. The way that a story goes in a hockey game is better than in basketball. Basketball, it's like because of the way that possessions work and everything, it kind of becomes difficult to weave together a consistent narrative. I mean, you can, but it's not as good as it is in hockey. I can tell you the story of what happened on Wednesday night, and it was a spectacular story. Man, so like Utah was up. They started up, and in the second period, I think it was the other team kind of like caught up and got even with them, and it was tough going for a while. But then in the third period, all of a sudden Utah just started absolutely creaming them, and it was like it was one of the best teams. So we had lost one of the worst teams. So we didn't expect to win against this team. They were a really good team. But like all of a sudden it was just like the other team fell apart. And like the crowd started getting energized, and Utah made a goal to pull ahead. So then it was like, okay, cool. So like as long as nothing else happens, Utah's gonna win now at that point, right? And then they made another goal. And then they made another goal, and all of a sudden it was like 4-1, and I was like, what? And then one of the Utah players I think his nickname is Spicy Tuna. I think it was Spicy Tuna that did it. He did a check to somebody against the wall that was super hard. I mean, he really, and it looked like a legal check to me, but it was like he hit him and the guy flew like 2 feet and into the boards, and like almost immediately his teammate came up to him and was like, you can't do that. That's too rough, and tapped him with a stick. So the way that it works is you tap your opponent on the leg with your stick, and then you have a fight. Okay? Well, Spicy Tuna was expecting a fight because he knew that it was a hard hit. He was expecting a fight. So as soon as the other guy tapped him with his stick, he threw all of the pads off and just pounded him down. And he took the guy down real fast. And so he got a penalty. He got like a 2-minute penalty for instigating and a 5-minute penalty for fighting. Usually what happens is both players, they take their gloves off and whatever, so they both fighting and those cancel each other out. So you don't have like a 7-minute penalty. But in this case, the refs couldn't see that the other guy was asking for it. And Spicy Tuna had, went into the fight so quickly that it just looked like he was just instigating and pulling this other guy. So Utah got a 7-minute penalty, essentially, off of this. And then there was a point where another penalty was kind of a ticky-tacky penalty was assessed against them. So Utah was down 2 players for 2 minutes, and then down 1 player for like 7 to 9 minutes or something like that. And because it was a major penalty, the difference with a major penalty is in a minor penalty, if they make a score, then that's it. The penalty's over. Okay. But in a major penalty, it's just open season. You can make as many goals as you can. And they took so many shots on the goal, and the Utah goalie, who was the backup goalie, blocked every single one. And Utah was able to kill the entire 9-minute penalty without any scores against them. And oh my gosh, the crowd there was losing their mind, because first it was like we got 3 goals, and then there was a fight, and our player just absolutely dominated in the fight and was like, going like this afterwards. Like the Delta Center is loud, okay? Never heard it that loud from like what I could hear on the TV. And then they killed the penalty. Oh my gosh, it was such an amazing game, and all of this against a team that's like objectively better than Utah in every way. So, oh man, I really love hockey, and it was a good hockey game. Tonight we're up against Las Vegas, and I kind of feel like that. Who do you think should be a bigger rival, Colorado or Las Vegas? I kind of feel like that it should be Las Vegas, so that might make tonight's interesting. But let's see. Oh, and we already went up against Las Vegas and lost in overtime to them too, so that also makes it interesting. Okay, so that game starts at 7 o'clock. So I don't know how long the boxing match is going to be, but we should have time to watch the Mike Tyson fight first. Let's see here. Live action asks Seth, you use EdgeClear, don't? Yep, I'm still on EdgeClear. I never think about it, but I really like those guys. Maybe they watch every once in a while. They'll pop up and they're like, hey, we just want to check in. How have you been doing? One of the things that they did for me was they gave me a couple of contacts, and I had some people to talk to that are like the legal side of a hedge fund and everything. So if we ever do get to the point where we're going to do a full-on fund, I know who to or outsource the legal stuff to, and sort of the problems and things that we would need to set up to do that. So that part's all taken care of. That was one thing that they did for me that was really cool. Mike Tyson will bite his tongue. Oh, you think so? Huh? I don't. Why say that? Monica asks, how many years have you been trading for? Well, so I have been actively trading futures for, what is it, 7 or 8 years. Basically, I started in this YouTube channel started in April of 2017. And by that point, I had been doing it almost a year. Okay. So I've been trading futures for about 8 years. But I first got involved, or let's say interested in the markets in 2008. So it's really been more like 15 years. Wait, not 2008 is not 15 years. 2008 would be 17 years, huh? So I wasn't like at live trading back then, but you know, I was watching the market every day. I was like putting trades in a spreadsheet. I reading CNBC and doing, you know, trying to understand everything that's going on about, like, I can remember when we had quantitative easing too. I can remember when the big debate was whether we were going to have a double dip recession, all of those sorts of things. So I've been doing it for a while. I'm not an old hat. You know, like whenever I talk to the guys on the Ninja Trader live stream, Ninja Trader has a live stream. And some of them were trading like back in when I was born. So how many gigs does your GPU have? Oh, I think it's just a 4 gig. The GPU. Oh, sorry, it's a 24 gigabyte. You know what? 4 was maybe what it was before. Anyways. It's an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 Ti. 24 gig. And when I do the live stream, you can see I use most of the video encode, 75%, because I'm saving 3. You know, I never use it. Although we do have a guy to edit things, so if we ever say anything in the live stream that's really good for recording, we can do it. But I save the main screen, and I also save just the camera. And then there's the stream that's going out to you guys. So that's why it uses all the video encode. Mr. Legit says my question got lost. Oh, let's see here. I am watching the DOMs, and I am seeing the ES selling off. Well, the ZN is bidding up. Do they always correlate like this? No. But when they correlate like this, some of the best trades. Some of the best trades. So kind of the differentiator, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the week, but whether they're correlated or anti-correlated really depends on why they're moving. Okay? So if the markets are moving because they anticipate easier or stricter monetary policy, then they tend to move in a correlated fashion, especially when they expect the Federal Reserve to be easy. So for instance, yesterday, Jerome Powell, he had a speech. He ended up being hawkish in his speech, which was, I kind of thought maybe he would be dovish. But let's just say that he came out and he was dovish in that speech. He said, you know what, we're very, very certain that we're going to be able to continue reducing interest rates at the pace that we want, and it's going good, and yada yada yada, right? Probably both the treasuries and the equities would buy, right? Lower interest rates means higher treasuries, means more money for people to go and buy stocks. So both of these would probably buy up, right? Conversely, yesterday when he came out and he was hawkish, you saw both the S&P 500 and the treasuries sell. Okay. This morning, though, what seems to be happening is the treasuries are selling for no clear reason. And that's causing people to dump the equities. But the people dumping the equities is hurting the it's hurting the market so much that they're starting to go, oh, actually, maybe that means that they won't be able to reduce interest rates as much. And so the treasuries are buying back up. Maybe. Although maybe what's going on is just the S&P 500 has to sell, and they've kind of started to get a little bit out of control because it's an options expiration day. And the treasuries, the sell was actually not justified, and they're just reversing. Could also be the case, right? But let's say that something happened like I'm gonna go like way extreme, okay? I'm a little bit worried about like going this extreme because, you know, like there's YouTube and all of these sorts of things. But I think we're okay. Okay, listen, I'm saying this is a theoretical situation, okay? What if a nuclear bomb was detonated in downtown Los Angeles, okay? That's gonna really hurt the economy. That's gonna really hurt the economy. You would see stocks sell off and treasuries buy, okay? Because that the economy is about to go into a recession. It's that the thing that just happened is gonna hurt stocks, but the Federal Reserve is gonna have to reduce interest rates to try and stimulate the economy and deal with that issue, right? You would also, from the other direction, that would create a lot of political volatility, right? So when you get political volatility, people tend to buy treasuries. They tend to take their money to where it's safe. So that would be another reason why you might see the treasuries buy. Right? So it just depends on what is kind of matters more. What is kind of the thing that traders are trading off of? Is it the interest rates themselves, or is it the probability of a recession or political instability? And that kind of determines whether they're pro-correlated or they're anti-correlated. Okay, but the situation where they're anti-correlated, the S&P 500 is selling and the treasuries are buying, those can be some of the best trades in the treasuries that you'll ever get. Especially ones where like the treasuries are kind of sneaky about it, and it happens over here first, and then later you realize that the S&P 500 is falling off of a cliff. That's like somebody out there decided that they were going to liquidate today, and they went and they bought the treasuries first. Those trades, when you get those, like the treasuries will barely pull back even a tick. I mean, and maybe we are seeing that. You know, it's funny because I said it like 04. Well, maybe here's this place. I didn't think that was a really good place to do anything. We have gone a little bit higher though, so I guess I missed out on stuff. But if let's just say that you had taken a trade down in here. Okay, so there was a little bit of a pullback right here. There's a little bit of a pullback right here. And there's this one, and there's this one, but those are only like 2-tick pullbacks. So if you had been long on this, that would be a pretty easy trade to hold on to. Conversely, if we come over here and we look at the S&P 500, this one has been pretty okay. But let's pull out a ruler. You know, what's this? Okay. Oh, why does it do that? Y value 8. That's an 8-point pullback. That's a pretty significant pullback for a retail trader, right? This one right here, not tick, point. This one is, oh, is that one not as big? 575. Oh, you know what it says this price. Let's just do it in ticks. Let's just do it in ticks. Okay. 32 ticks, 23 ticks in ES, right? So yeah, if you were short from here, it'd be a great trade, but like you're getting pretty significant pullbacks and everything. That sort of stuff will make you nervous. It's hard to hold on to it. It's hard to hold on to it compared to the Treasury. You got 2 ticks back on you a few times. That's it. Like the trendiness of Treasuries when it's a flight to safety trade is unreal. Unreal. Let's delete these. And it's one of the biggest reasons I say that you want to have the 10-year Treasury in your back pocket. Because if you are an equity index trader, what tends to happen to the equity index traders, the retail traders, is they kind of figure out that if you buy most of the time, you tend to win, right? So they're doing these things where they're taking on a lot of risk and they're buying, and that's how they're making their money. And there's not really a whole lot of edge to it other than that. And then the market starts to sell, and they try to sell with it, but they just keep getting stopped out of their positions. And whatever their strategy was, just like seemingly stops working, is kind of what happens. And if you have the ability to see that that is happening and just switch over to the treasuries for an easy trade in the treasuries, that's a huge advantage. And you're much more likely to be one of the people that survives that washout. Because what usually happens is, you know, it's the S&P goes up and up and up and up, and then we have a period of volatility, and all of the retail day traders, you know, quit during that. That's when so many people disappear. I can always tell because, like, in Discord, we've been running the Discord for a long time. I have a really good Discord. There's lots of good resources in there. You know, the discussion on the Discord, it kind of comes and goes. It depends on the season and things like that. But, like, usually what happens is, like, when the volatility comes, at first there's, like, tons of activity. And then, like, Discord goes quiet after a few days or a few weeks. Because, like, too many people got their accounts destroyed and they leave the community. And then, you know, you start to see a new group of people pop back in after that. It's just the nature of the beast. I wish I could say, well, here on the live stream, most of you guys that are here, you've been here for a long time. But the nature of the game is that it is a zero-sum game. That means that pretty much 50% of the traders, if not 60, 70, 80% of the traders have to lose, right? So we're not going to be immune to that. Right. Oh, or live action saying easy money bet, talking about the Tyson fight. So are you saying that Mike Tyson is going to beat Jake Paul? The LA Trader says, last time I was in Las Vegas to see Mike Tyson, he broke his thumb. The fight was canceled. Hope he shows up tonight. Huh. I think it's going to happen. Who knows what it'll actually be, though. They were trying to hype it. That, you know, Jake Paul was like all talking trash and everything, trying to hype the fight up. Like, you know, I always have to be the one that hypes it up, though, and all this sort of stuff. Okay, dude. You're trying to juice it. Is this going to be as big as I thought it was originally? Like, when it first happened, I'm like, this is going to be the biggest boxing fight of all time, right? And then I kind of forgot about it, and I lost interest, and now I'm But because it's going to be on Netflix, and I think that most Americans have Netflix, right? So I don't know about in terms of like how much money it makes and all of those sorts of things, but I think in terms of the number of people that watch it, it may very well be the biggest boxing fight of all time. But I don't know if the fight itself is going to be that interesting. We'll see. We'll see. But I don't know enough about boxing to judge. I feel like this fight is almost a disgrace with it. Why is that? Because you think that Jake Paul shouldn't be doing a fight with such an old man? I mean, it's clearly all a marketing thing, right? Okay, tell me this. I'm not the boxing expert. Yes or no? A Mike Tyson in his prime would destroy Jake Paul. Jake Paul says yes. Man who lived and breathed fighting like it was the only thing in the world that mattered versus a pretty boy with what kind of history going on? Was that? Well, and yeah, well, aren't people? A lot of people are saying that Jake Paul isn't that good, that he just hasn't gone up against good enough opponents or something like that, right? That's kind of what I've been hearing. That's the rumble on the online. Again, I don't know anything about these things, so I wish it's kind of like me being like, I wish I knew more about boxing. I wish that I could live a life where I did boxing, but I don't, and I don't have time to fit it into, I want to focus on Olympic weightlifting, and so that's never going to happen, right? Live Action says their Dom is killer. I think that you had another comment there that I missed. Did you try posting a link again? No, you should. Live Action should be able to post links though, huh? Whose Dom is killer? You need to drink more water. My throat hasn't been the best this morning. Need more fluid so that it all clears. Probably like this a little bit because I didn't get to sleep as early as I would normally want to. And my body's recovering from a hard workout on Wednesday. I was just thinking about, we're gonna make, we want to make advanced swing. I was like, why not put cumulative delta in it and all of those sorts of things? I'm gonna have to have a pro version and a normal version of it, because I want to have a normal version that people can backtest with, but the pro version might do things like statistics and cumulative delta swings and things like that. Because that's another thing that you guys would want to be able to do, right? Is like, what was the cumulative delta change from the swing? And based on that, perhaps do things like, if there's a pullback that's less and it's confirmed, then you want to go down for another leg or something. I don't know. But those would be advanced. That would be quite an advanced feature. I'm going through, like, closing my tabs now and coming back to some of the other things we were talking about earlier that I, like, left the tabs open for, like RFK. It's like, oh, I hope everybody likes polio and measles is what they're saying, but I'm still back to, okay, what is it that you think is going to happen that's going to be so terrible for people? That they're going to get rid of food colorings, that they're going to get rid of fluoride. Oh, you know what it's going to be. You know what it's going to be. That they're going to allow people to drink raw milk. Yeah, that's what it is. It's going to be raw milk. Raw milk is dangerous, guys. It really is. I really want to drink raw milk really badly. But, like, the only way I'm doing it is, like, if the cow was, like, it has their blood drawn daily to look for pathogens, and the udders are really thoroughly cleaned off first, and all of the equipment is super clean. Like, because if there's any, in normal milk, they don't have to worry about all of that stuff because it gets pasteurized and then put into a container and then it's safe, right? If it's not, then every step along the way needs to be clean. And I would have to see, how would you verify that that's the case, right? I think that a reasonable thing would be like, you're drinking raw milk, as long as you're not, like, mass producing it and stuff, right? Like the Amish, they should be able to drink raw milk. If you have your own cow, you should be able to drink your own cow's own raw milk. It's just like when you start selling it to other people that it kind of becomes like a public health issue. Raw milk is good if it comes from a clean cow. Okay. Live action Edge Clear. Oh, are you talking about the Edge Clear's Edge X platform or whatever it is? Platform actually is not too bad. I haven't checked it out in a while. Wonder if Edge Pro X they've continued adding features and stuff or not. So something I should note is that they are now steeper than they were before. So they had all of this downside action and everything. But look, all of the yield curves, all of the spreads are steeper now than they were from before the move. So this is like a full-on reversal. I don't know if that means that we should take a trade right here and it'll keep going up, but it means that there's a possibility of that. that kind of brings me back to like, why did the S&P 500 sell, and like what's actually moving things, and we're not quite sure. There's a couple of different theories, right? Let's see here. DC Verax says, when I was little, my grandma's neighbor had cows, and I drank raw milk, and I never got any disease, and I am talking Eastern Europe, poor people type living conditions. Well, so if it came from a clean cow, and yeah. But like the issue is that if you, so okay, here's where it's a problem. Okay, if you're doing it on your farm, or maybe it's your neighbor's milk, like that's one thing. Okay, but once you start to mass produce it, right? You have to do things to mass produce. Like if it's just my one cow, I can take the time to ensure that the cow has been properly cleaned and that all of the equipment that's involved is perfectly sterile and all of these sorts of things to reduce the chances of there being something in the milk, right? But when all of a sudden I'm doing it for hundreds of cows a day to try and collect as much raw milk as possible, and then I want to use industrial equipment to do it and all of these things like that, like, you're going to take shortcuts. You're not going to be able to take that kind of time on there. And the issue is that, like, the risk of you getting a disease from raw milk is low enough that for a person doing it with their own cows, they probably never have a problem with it. But once you start getting mass numbers of people doing it, once you have thousands of people drinking it, it's a serious health problem. Like, enough people get sick from it that it's a serious health problem. And the sick that you get from it is like a serious sick. It's not just like, oh, well, you know, I drank bad milk and I kind of threw. Oh, no, it's like life-threatening stuff. So, but apparently there was an issue where, like, the FDA or whatever, the feds show up at like Amish farms and force them to dump out all of their milk and stuff like that, right? That has happened, and I do kind of think that they will address that. So I'm going to bet you, I don't know if they're going to allow raw, like, mass production of raw milk, but I'm gonna bet you that the rules change. Maybe they do make some rules that say you can sell raw milk, but you have to meet all of these stringent requirements, right? Like, you have to be, everything has to be cleaned, and you're going to be inspected once a month, and who knows? Maybe, who knows? I'm not 100% sure where they're going to go. The only thing, well, actually, I don't even know if they're going to do this. It's a weird thing to think about this. What is RFK going to do in this position? The one thing that RFK wants to do that I am in favor of, but I don't know if it'll actually happen, is prescription makers are not allowed to advertise on TV. It seems to me, because I can remember when they changed those rules and allowed advertisers to advertise for medications like that and everything. And I myself definitely noticed a change in the industry that, like, once they had access to mass marketing, that it changed the type of products that they made and things like that. So I do believe that it's been negative, and that we're probably better off not allowing pharmaceutical companies to advertise. You shouldn't be trying to convince people that they have an issue and that they need to go. You know, it should only be, I had an issue and I went to the doctor for it, right? And other countries don't allow it. So I think that we should not allow it. But who knows what else he'll do. Can't even. We're facing the biggest change in U.S. government ever. And anybody that tells you that they know exactly how it's going to turn out, that it's going to be explicitly bad or it's going to be explicitly good, is probably a moron. It's too complicated to analyze. It's too complicated to analyze the overall whole of what the effect is going to be. Not only look at individual things and say, well, this individual thing might be bad or this individual thing might be good. I think that if they allowed mass production of raw milk, it would be bad. But they probably do need to change the rules around it. Live Action says I'm going to backtest 3 tick breakouts on news. If it worked, 20 lots could return a couple $100K. I mean, there's real issues with backtesting and a thing like that, though, right? Because it's hard to get the fills. So I actually had have a strategy. Well, I have 2. I had one that was just like if you have like an individual second bar or whatever that's a certain amount of size, then you just go with it. And then I had another one that was, you know, if there was a gap, the gappy thing. And you know, they both backtested really well. They were kind of like rare signals, but they both backtested pretty well. But like, good luck getting it to execute the way that the backtest says. There's no way. Surely there's some edge to harvest there, though, because, I mean, we do get a lot of volume on those numbers. Half the price, all the games, Mr. You know what I need is I need a small handheld that's really good for playing Minecraft. Maybe it's just the phone. I can give Asher my phone after because it is time for me to get a new one. Oh, I kind of lost track of the time. It's time for us to be getting going. Sorry, I was reviewing what I missed and forgot to go live, so my post responses were a bit late. Oh. Okay. Yeah, guys, it's time for me to get going. I don't think the kids are awake. And on Monday, maybe we can look at the zigzag stuff. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking, double checking. That's what we're really gonna do. Anyways, I will see you next week. Be careful, because it looks like it's one of those days. Like every once in a while, you get an offer. Reggie Williams, welcome to the stream. I'm sorry, I'm about to leave. You gotta get here early, man. You gotta get. We start at 8:30 Eastern time. Anyways, every once in a while you get a options expiration that is really nasty, and it kind of looks like that day is today. So be careful. Stay excellent, team.